Which you meet him? Where'd you know?
Well, he came to Memphis to sing with a group called the Blackwood Brothers. It was the first time that I'd ever seen him.
How did you run into him this time? Just in Vegas?
I just realized that they were available. And he'd formed a new quartet called the Stamps. And I listened to some of the records, and they had all this power.
He made the Stamps, he brought them together.
He put them together.
One's his nephew, and one's his son-in-law. The other two, I don't know where they came from.
But each one of the guys individually are good, as you can see.
I noticed.
They all have beautiful voices.
See, we come from a different background. We come from the Middle West or from the West Coast.
You don't hear this too much.
So we don't hear this. So we see a bunch of guys, and it has a whole different kind of level of meaning to us because it's just not part of our background.
Right.
But like everybody comes from the same background, or is that's as much to you guys as it is to a kid in California growing up and surfing or Little League baseball.
It's kind of like roots.
We grew up with it, from the time I can remember, like 2 years old. I grew up with this because my folks took me there. And when I got old enough, I started to sing in church. And
That's how you got into singing?
Well, it's one of the ways.
One of the ways.
Yeah. But I liked all type of music. When I was in high school, I had records about Mario Lanza and the Metropolitan Opera. I loved music. The Spanish, I like the Mexican flavored songs.
But this is so
music
different.
But this thing here, the gospel thing is just. Excuse me. The gospel is really what we grew up with, more than anything else.
It shows in the music too, because there's a kind of if you've seen Baptist choirs, there's a kind of intensity about it, and it's the same kind of intensity, electricity that you have on stage. And there
it
seems
comes
to be
out almost every song.
It's a kind of a soul.
Like
it comes from way deep
strength
inside.
that's inside. Yeah.
It just isn't singing notes. It's singing something that seems to come from very deep inside of you.
And at certain times you push out, pull in. Just a part of you, you don't really think about it.
When I was in France about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was doing a film on Jean-Claude Keely, and I asked him just offhand who was his favorite singer, and he said, Elvis Presley. He's my man.
Oh, really?
He's my man.
He's my favorite skier.
And I asked him why.
That's nice.
And he said, but he did this whole thing. He says he has soul. It's hard for an American to talk to a Frenchman and understand that he understands soul better than you do. But he really does. He says he sings, from in here. And that was his way of describing. He had a very limited English at the time.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Joe, you gonna pick up the music?
No, but this,
Yeah.
this is very,
All right, boys, put it away.
this is very basic. When we get through with our work, what we have to do, we usually wind up doing this.
And you're doing it because you want to do it.
We do it because we want to do it,
In Las Vegas, after he's done 2 shows, everybody's tired. They're up in the suite singing all night till like 6, 7.
We'll do 2 shows a lot of times, and we'll go upstairs and sing until daylight. Gospel songs.
How do you do it? How do you?
Not too often. When you're working every night there.
I mean, what does it do for you? I mean, to get into this, is it like
I think it more or less puts your mind at ease. It does mine. Because you've been really concentrating and everybody's been working out. So these things we know.
It's like old friends.
Right. And it puts your mind at ease.
It takes you down and just
It takes you down to a level. Otherwise, you'd go out of here and you couldn't sleep for, There's nothing wrong with it, but like if you ended on a real fast up-tempo song or something, we leave the studio and nobody can sleep for hours.
You're right though. When you leave the stage like a place like Vegas, you're really up. You're really, really flying.
It takes at least 4 or 5 hours to even begin to unwind. And we usually wind up, doing this type of stuff.
Where have you found the guys? I mean, we know about JD, but like the other guys who are in the chorus, it seems like you've known them forever, just watching you around the piano and singing, like you're like real super old friends from a long, long time.
Well, like I said, I knew JD from back when I was 15 years old, when he first came to Memphis to sing with a group called the Blackwood Brothers. And I was a big gospel music fan, so they would sing all night. And I would stay there all night, And he had formed this new group himself a couple of years ago. And I just heard their records and put them together with the inspirations and everything else that we had.
Looked in the gutter in there.
Looked in the gutter, man, and dug them out.
All of that's going on the stage. It's really.
But then when you put it all together,
It seems to be a kind of like a relationship going on stage. It's like everybody is a friend of everybody else on stage, and that's something very rare because we've seen a lot of groups perform and don't get that kind of feeling.
I think it's because we enjoy it, and we constantly enjoy it, which means that we do 2 shows a night for 5 weeks, but we never let it get old. Every song is like we do it for the first time, and that's one of the secrets,
Well, like it's not a planned thing. You don't do the same songs, the same sequence.
Not necessarily.
Yeah,
we can change them around, but even if we do the same songs,
It's not the.
they're new, and the sound is the feeling is there every time.
It's a different feeling each time, right?
It's a good feeling. We never let it down because there's a new audience out there. Plus, we enjoy what we're doing.
Well, Elvis communicates with us, really. I mean, you really do from the stage. I've sung with a lot of people, but he has some way of keeping you interested and communicate between you and him. And,
I'm not going to tell you how.
You aren't going to tell us the secrets? Well, hell, we'll get out.
Things that go on behind my back and things. No. But we will. We'll keep it interesting somehow.
Hope it's more
5 weeks,
interesting.
man.
Oh, shut up.
The last show was the first one.
Yeah.
At the end of the 5 weeks, it was, it went by like that, and it seemed like a day.
Well, see, I don't know. For instance, this evening, I know you were running just through everything just for us, for the cameras, what have you. Which would seem like if you did the reverse on us and said, well, guys, just walk around with your cameras like you normally do in the concert, it would be a drag to us because it would be hard for us to get up to that level. But what's hard for us to figure out is that you can turn it on here just like you do on the stage.
Well, you know what? What's interesting about music and about all the people here, they find new sounds, and they do things differently themselves. So it's like a new experience every day. The guy on the guitar will find a new lick, or the guy on the piano will find something, or the voices will add something, And I hear all this, and it inspires me.
Because we watch, it's new for us. We're watching things like you and the lead guitarist kind of looking, the looks that go back and forth, and we're lining up shots. There's really something going on, some sort of magic. We know already the game that goes on with Charlie Hodges and the kidding the back and forth, and that's part of it too. So there's a kind of thing going on there. There's something going on there. I notice when your eye goes over to JD when the chorus comes in, each one of them is like a little turn on. It's like a conversation that goes on each one, but there's surprises.
It's like
in
a
it.
feedback.
It's a back and forth, and you're turning each other on.
Well, that's what I mean. It never ceases. It goes on.
And that's what we're looking for in the film. That's what the film has to explore totally. It's that whole electricity, that's just kind of circulating back and forth.
I hope you find it.
Hey, it's not. Well, we have to tell you, we looked and it wasn't there.
Thanks.
So we're wrapping. Hey, let's call it a night.
Got to rest up for the road.
Got a big
jump from here to
Buffalo or
Jumping
wherever.
off the Buffalo.
This is a tour I usually lose about 2 inches, not in here, but in here. To hang by my hands for about 2 weeks to get it back.
Yes.
All one-night stands, too.
Yeah.
But that's fun, see. It's excitement.
Got to figure out how to get a piano in each room for these guys to sing after the show.
Oh, let's go home, everybody.
I think so. Enjoyed it, fellas.
This is the only beginning of I think a really enjoyable experience.
Okay. We'll do our best.
I know you will. We'll try and do ours. No, you're supposed to say, I know you will. See, and then,
No
then we're all
comment.
cool.
No comment.
Okay.
We're even.
Good night.
Elvis really enjoys Memphis, coming to Graceland here. After all, he spent quite a few of his younger days here, you know, and it's more like home to him than any other place, I guess. And he has quite a few friends here he likes to visit and see, you know, and talk to about different things. The changes being made in Memphis and what have you.
What was it like when you first got here?
We first moved to Graceland. Well, it was,
Just say, when we first moved to Graceland,
we first moved to Graceland, it was quite different than what it is now. There was no fences here and very few houses. None of this here was out there, and across the street has been built since. So it's just kind of closed us into the city here.
just say now we have shopping centers and
We have shopping centers and all types of restaurants and what have you out here now. It's just like being uptown.
is this a
But we still have 14 acres. It's quite a bit of room to play in, you know.
what about tourists? A lot of people come by here.
Yeah, this,
Why don't you just start it by
Yeah.
saying in the summertime, got a lot of folks coming by to visit.
in the summertime, we have quite a few tourists coming through. They like to come up and take pictures of the house, you know. More so in the summer. Of course, there are a few come all through the year, you know. Sometimes we have a traffic jam down there on the highway with people stopping. Have to get the policeman out there to get it straightened out.
Now change the shot. And then just say a couple months ago they named the street out front.
Just a couple of months ago, they renamed this highway out here in the name of Elvis Presley Boulevard, which was real good, you know, very great. This was Elvis's first big hit record, so Heartbreak Hotel. This is when he got the first gold record from. Sold over 1 million copies.
That started it all off.
Yeah, that seemed to get her rolling. That was 1956 after the first television show, the Jackie Gleason stage show. It just seemed to boom from that.
How did it all begin? Did you ever expect?
Well, really, when he first got started, we had no idea what it would amount to, you know, of course. He made his first record just to try out, see how it would sound, and about 8 months later, they made one to be released, you know. And it seemed to just boom overnight. So after that, he was touring around in the South, like Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi. Then he went to Louisiana Hayride once a week on Saturday nights, and then from there to television, 56.
What was that first recording session like? I mean, how did it all start?
Well, it's kind of hard to remember everything that happened. It's been quite a while ago, you know, but he just went down to make a record to see, you know, just see how he would sound on wax. So Mr. Sam Phillips was owner of the recording studio at the time. So he told him, he says, I want to get your name and address before you leave because I might use you, you know, something might come up. So about 8 months later, they called him one night and said, come down, I think we got something you can use. So he went down and worked all night on trying to come up with something, you know, that he liked. So they finally hit on That's All Right Mama in Blue Moon of Kentucky. And it was released, and it just boomed from that, you know.
And what happened that night? They played the record, and
Yeah, this jockey by the name of Dewey Phillips had a radio show at night called Red Hot and Blue. So he called the house and wondered where Elvis was. I said, well, he's gone to the show. He said, well, see if you can get him down here. I said, the phone's ringing off the wall and the telegram's coming in, and I can't answer the phone. I got to do my job, you know. So we walked up to the theater and got him, and he went down to the station and worked the rest of the night. So he started recording, and it just kind of went from that, you know.
in other words, you didn't know what was going to happen.
Had no idea what would really happen, you know. Had no way of knowing it would get as big as it is.
How many records did he sell when he started out?
You mean of this
How many-
with Sun
Yeah,
label?
How many singles did he sold over 1 million? How many albums sold over 1 million?
Oh, he has 56 singles that sold over 1 million copies, 56 gold records now, and 16 albums that sold over 1 million copies. Well, 18 albums with the two over here. See? 56 singles and 18 albums, gold records.
And what was it like for Elvis in those first days? Did he was kind of different from the rest of the guys, wasn't he? When he was
Well, in some ways, some of the clothes he wore was different. The way he wore his hair was quite different to what there was back then, you know. And he was criticized quite often about it, but it really didn't bother him. He didn't change it. He went on like he was anyway.
What was that story you told me about? You know, when he first decided to go into show business, did you have any inkling of?
No, he called me into his room one day there. I believe it was shortly after he got out of high school, and he said, I want to be an entertainer. And I said, well, you know, I don't know much about that sort of thing, but you deal with quite a few people in the business. I said, why don't you talk to some of them and see what you got to do to get into it, you know. At that time, he was more interested in the gospel singing, the quartet singing, you know. So he tried for 2 or 3 different of the young groups to get in with him, and they was either full or they didn't think he could sing good enough or something. I don't know what happened. Then after he made this record, quite a few of the quartet groups wanted him then, and so he talked to me about it again, you know. He said, what would you do? He said, I can get into the quartet singing now, in the gospel field. And of course my reaction was I wouldn't do it. I'd just keep what I got because you tried that before and they wouldn't take you in. I said I'd just stick to what I got. So he did.
Well, back in the early 50s over in North Memphis, where Elvis and I were attending Humes High School, it wasn't the easiest thing, man. Like I said, I never had a car. I was like in college, and I think Elvis didn't get a car until he was out of school. We used to walk to school, and most of us had jobs. I had a job after school. Elvis had a job. I think that was when Elvis was ushering at the Palace Theater in downtown Memphis, and a lot of the kids in Humes High School had to work, man, to make it, because if you didn't work, you didn't get bread on your table. And so I think that was why one of the reasons Elvis had to quit playing high school football was because he had to go to work to help his family out to get some bread. And like I said, I worked, and quite a few of the kids. In fact, they had sort of a setup at Humes High School back in those days, where that if a kid did have to work, that he could get out of school a little bit earlier to go to work to try to help the family out. There wasn't any rich kids in our high school. Everybody was just trying to make it, and it was sort of a struggle to get through and, you know, wear nice clothes to school. You didn't see kids at our high school who wore real nice clothes like Elvis. Nobody wore real expensive clothes, but everybody wore clean clothes, man, and everybody looked nice, you know. And it was pretty groovy high school.
What about your aspirations in your future and his the same?
Well, back in high school, I don't know. I didn't know, of course, that I was going to eventually get into radio. I had the bug. I thought maybe I'd like to get into radio. I thought it was glamorous and exciting. And I think Elvis probably wanted to maybe be an entertainer. But it's just like when you're in school, you know, you dream a lot. Hey, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, but you never really think it's going to happen. And I never will forget when Elvis did become a star. I was never more proud than anyone else, because here Elvis was, man, up on this big, wide movie screen, and he was a star, and I was seeing his picture in magazines, and here was a guy that I graduated from high school with, and was doing real great, and I was really proud for him.
What was your first recollection of that? What record really made it big? Maybe you can tell us a little bit of how.
Well, Elvis's very first record was "That's All Right, Little Mama" in Blue Moon of Kentucky, and I was going to college, and I was working part-time at radio station WHBQ, which ironically is where I am now, and I would frequently bump into Elvis because he was around town, and we sort of still lived in the same neighborhood. And what happened was I was working at a small station one summer over in Arkansas, and I came home, and I dropped by HBQ, and Dewey Phillips, who's an old friend of mine, said, "Hey, a friend of yours is by last night. He came out with a record." And I said, "Oh, you got to be putting me on." "Who was that?" "Well, he took the record and he put it on the turntable, and he put his hand over the label where I couldn't see it, and he played "That's All Right, Little Mama." And I didn't know who it was, and he said, "Don't you know who that is?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, you graduated from high school with him." I said, "Hey, man, that's got to be Elvis." Because Elvis was the only guy in high school who I thought had enough talent to put a record out. And then he proceeded to tell me the story. The record was played 7 times on the air that night, and Elvis came up and did a short interview. And that was the very first. I just couldn't believe it was just too much for me to, here's a friend of mine, man, he's got a record out. Wow, that's like just really fantastic for a guy that I knew that to have a record out. And before you know it, his name was in the charts. It was in Billboard and Cashbox. Elvis Presley right next to Eddie Arnold and Hank Snow and Bill Haley and whoever the stars were back in the early 50s. And I was just really knocked out.
What did the other kids think about it? I mean, what did the other people think about it?
Well, it was real funny, man. You know, some of the kids who had made fun of Elvis in high school when he had long hair and he dressed Showtime then, it was real funny because you used to see him sort of like hanging out, you know, with Elvis, some of the same kids, or trying to hang out. And I think they were really sort of awed too, because man, this was a pretty poor high school we went to, and it was tough, man, just to get out in the business world and get a job, and much less go out and put a record out and get on TV and hear your record on the radio and everything. That was like just too much, you know.
So for someone to really make it and become a big movie star, a big recording star, was really...
Man, for someone to make it out of Humes High School was too much less become a star. At this point comes to mind, where were you at the time? Can you remember where you were, which were singing that time?
Well, it's an old suit. It's got pleats in it and so forth, so it had to be like 55 or 56. And the guy in the background was my first drummer, DJ Fontana.
So those were the early days when you were doing the road tours and you were driving?
What were the appearances like then? What were the crowds like?
Oh, they were good. They were really good. Just, that's the same guitar that I use now. Same one.
You had the same guitar all these years?
You're kidding. Yeah. I remember another one that said Elvis Presley on it. It was kind of inlaid.
Yeah, well, I have 2, you know. Yeah. I was in a nightclub one night, and this big fight broke out in this club. I had 2 guitars. I always keep one on the side in case I break the strings. And I remember thinking, I hope that nothing happens to that guitar. It's brand new. I heard a crunch, and this guy had stepped in it. Had it hanging on his foot, man. So I had to get a new one there. But as far as where these were, I don't know.
You just had a small group with you, I know.
Yeah, I had a lead guitar player, a bass player, not an electric bass, an upright bass, a guy named Bill Black, and the drummer. That was it.
Were you doing one-nighters then?
Mm-hmm. Doing one-nighters, and I was working in Shreveport, Louisiana.
You know, that looks like a boom mic up there, so it might be one of the early TV shows.
And on this one here, I think somebody goosed me or something.
I see the hand back there.
Yeah, the guy had a guitar on like that.
What was your sound like in those days? How would you describe it?
Well, it was good. It was good enough for them, I thought. The guys were good musicians. They were with me from the time I made the first record. They were called in by the guy that I started with, Sam Phillips, on Sun Records.
What was it like traveling in those days? I mean, that's a long time ago. How would you sleep?
We slept in the back of a car. You know, we'd do a show and we'd get off stage and get in a car, drive to the next town, and sometimes we get there just in time to do the show. Wash up.
You know, the next day the same thing? Or?
Mm-hmm.
What were the security problems like then?
We had to learn that over a period of time. You know, I got caught in some pretty good crowds.
The fans have always pretty much been the same, though, right? Large audiences and the same anticipation before and after. Huge numbers of people.
It was always exciting. As far as the numbers of people, we had to go according to the buildings, you know. And when I first started out, they didn't have the buildings that they have now. You know, I'd play out like the Fox Theater in Detroit. Didn't hold that many people, so I'd do 6 or 7 shows. They'd show a movie, and I'd come on to a live show.
Really?
Yeah, they'd show a movie, and I'd do the show.
Was that the days when you had a lot of acts in the same show, too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was...
What kind of people were on the show?
Well, it was mostly people from the Grand Ole Opry at that time. I was extra added attraction, you know, on the show.
At that particular time, other than Frank Sinatra, I can't remember anybody who had wild, screaming crowds up until that point. Were you prepared at all for that possibility?
No, I wasn't. The first time it happened, the first time that I appeared on stage, it was a charity thing. It was a place called The Shell. And when I left the stage, they were yelling and screaming and so forth. I did 2 songs. And it scared me to death, man. I didn't know what I'd done. The manager backstage, I said, what'd I do? He said, well, whatever it is, go back and do it again. So I went back out and I did the same thing again. I really didn't know what the yelling was about, screaming. I didn't realize that I was moving, my body was moving. It was a natural thing to me, you know.
It was not a conscious thing at all?
No, I wasn't even aware. It was just the rhythm. And the guy that played bass for me he could slap the bass, a double leg, you know. It was really a wild sound. It was like a jungle drums or something, you know, that nature. So we enjoyed it, you know. We enjoyed it on stage, but it was very wild, and we had to resist.
I don't know where that is.
Outside.
Seattle. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of outside concerts, but one of the bad things about outside is you lose your sound. Sound goes up.
Well, I guess in those days, the only big places that hold that number of people were outside, right?
Football stadiums and baseball stadiums, things like that.
But you never knew what to expect, huh?
No.
Like, how would you, we know what the security is like now and how you arrive in a big arena. How would you come in those days? Now you've been through an experience of having been scared by the reaction. What would you start to do? How would you arrive at the stadium?
As quietly as possible. But it was pretty well. I like the excitement and everything. It was.
Have the fans changed, Elvis? Over the years?
I don't think so. You know, I think I see people of all different ages and things out there. You know, if I do something good, you know, they let me know it. If I don't, they let me know that. For a while, it was a theory that anything I did would sell and so forth. Well, I knew that was not true. It's according to the material. You got to have good material. So whether it's a song, a script, or whatever, it's got to be good. Or,
Klein just wrote an article on the Rolling Stones, and in the article they said only Elvis Presley, except for maybe Jagger, has that ability to play a crowd like a giant instrument panel, to tune them up and to tune them down. And we saw it on the tour.
In other words, you work the audience. How does that happen?
Well, it's just it's a give and take proposition, in that they give me back the inspiration and you know.
Kind of a circular thing.
Sure.
You give them something.
Sure. I work absolutely to them, whether it's 6 or 6,000. It doesn't really matter. It's just they bring it out of me the inspiration, the ham.
If you go out there some night,
Sure.
let's say you're in 4 or 5 tunes and it just isn't coming back from the audience, what do you do?
I change the songs around. I'll go back and stay up all night working on it, worrying about it. I'll find out what it is. It's not getting off the ground, the first 4 or 5 numbers. Because it's very important,
Do you ever play to one particular person in the audience? Do you ever single out, say, a girl that's on the side of the stage? Play to her?
That's difficult because of the lighting. I can't hardly see them. I can see them, but not in detail.
You count the flash bulbs.
I will play off of an isolated incident, see if somebody's really jumping up and down or yelling or enjoying it or whatever. I'll play to that in a way. Not all the time, but I'll go to it.
Let's talk about how the whole show has come to be. Because I know it's your creation. From every person up there is really somebody that's up there for a reason. Like for instance, the stamps. How do they come to be picked?
I just want a male gospel quartet on stage with me for background. So I simply find out who's doing the best at that particular time. And some of the best voices in the world are in that type of music, but you don't hear about them that much. So I had known J.D. Sumner from the time he started to work for this group called the Blackwood Brothers in Memphis. And a group that worked for me called the Imperials had a contract with somebody else. And when they left, I had to replace them, and so we called J.D. Sumner, and he told us about the Stamps, It was a new group that just put together. The name of the Stamps has been around for years, but the groups have changed. This was a new group that just been put together. So they sent me some records of these guys, and I picked them on that basis. And the same with the girl singers. They had backed Aretha Franklin and a lot of other people.
Why was it important for us to have a male gospel group as part of the act? How did that fit in?
In other words, was there a certain feeling you were going after for your whole show?
Yeah. That plus, excuse me, Jerry, that plus, I wanted musicians that could play any type of music. Lead guitar players and bass, piano, who could play classical or anything, which those guys can. And all the musicians were all handpicked. I auditioned musicians for days and days, drummers, guitar players. Somebody said, I said, who's the best guitar player around? And they said, well, Glenn Campbell and James Burton. And I said, well, Campbell's out. He's on his own, so James Burton. But there's a lot of good men around. It's just a matter of finding them. But they all just fit in, and fortunately they knew most of my songs.
But I mean, you wanted voices behind you, and
wanted voices behind me to help add to the fullness of the sound and to get the dynamics of the show.
And same on the tour. Why did you want to have a full orchestra?
Because of the places being so big and everything, I wanted to fill the room up with sound as much like that with music. And a lot of records have been orchestrated.
You mean like on arrangements like Bridge Over Troubled Water and American Trilogy?
Yeah, you've got to have that bigness there. You've got to have the dynamics of sound. And I enjoy it. People wonder how I do it night after night or something. I really like it. I'm perfectly at home out there. I may lose 4 or 5 pounds a show easily, but I don't mind it. I've been doing it ever since I've been in this business.
And how do the one-night stands feel? I mean, from city to city to city.
Oh, that's exciting. Just traveling around and going to the shows and checking it. And having him say, "Oh, I knew you from 50 years ago," and I wasn't around 50 years ago.
Remember that piece of film we saw today? What was it, 1968 or something like that?
It's from the top 10 outstanding young Americans.
10 outstanding young men awards.
Oh, the JCs there?
Very short.
I was so nervous.
And you made a speech then, right?
Yeah, it's a different ball game when you're going out to sing and you're going out to make a speech. And I had nothing prepared. I was going to go out and just ad-lib it. But when I first started talking, my voice was so high. I sounded like somebody else, you know. It was way up here in this register, you know. God. I was really nervous. I don't know what I said. There's something about a song. I think I used it without a song that they were
You said something interesting leading into that. You said, when I was a kid, I used to read comic books. I was the hero in the comics. When I said movies, I was the hero in the movies. And I was like, really beautiful, you know, when you begin the whole projection of being a hero. Suddenly, you've grown up, you are a hero. Now there are kids sitting at home.
You had the line, everything's happened to me 100 times over.
Yeah. Is that what I said?
No, it was sincere.
Yeah, I just.
It was something only you could have said.
It just came to me at the time. I didn't prepare it at all.
The secret that every great man is a speechwriter. That's what you want us to say, right?
No.
But when you were a kid, is that how you identified with being a hero, by a comic book or by a newspaper?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like, who are your heroes?
Just any and everybody that did anything. Just it's the same today. You know, I watch people who excel in anything, whether it be sports. I'm not a golfer, but I watch the top golfers. Tennis players, the chess players. I admire anybody who can do anything of that nature. You know.
When did you first feel that you wanted to be a singer? Did you have it?
When I first realized I could sing, and at about 2 years of age, I found myself singing. I mean, I was singing, and people would listen to me around the housing project where I lived. And as time went by, I was about 8 years old, and they entered me in a talent show. I wore glasses, had no music. And I won, I think it was 5th place in this talent contest, this state talent contest. I got a whipping the same day. My mother whipped me for something. I wanted to ride. Destroyed my ego completely. But I would sing like in church, my mother and father, but when I was about 10 years old, they gave me a choice between a guitar and a bicycle. So I took the guitar and watched people. I learned to play it a little bit, but I would never sing in public. I was very shy about it. In the 11th grade in school, they entered me in another talent show. Nobody even knew I sang anything. I was singing around the apartment building where I lived. But they entered me in this talent show.
The Colonel Story. That's the
Colonel Story?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And your sideburns.
Sideburns. There were some truck drivers, believe it or not, that drove big diesel trucks and so forth across country, and I don't know, they had scars on them. They were wild-looking guys. So I used to lay on the side of the road and watch these guys drive these trucks. And when I was old enough to grow sideburns, I grew them. You know, I got criticized a lot for them, kicked off the football team and so forth.
You were different than most of the kids then, right? I mean, you dressed differently, you know?
Well, I suppose so by normal standards, but it was just something I wanted to do. I wasn't trying to be better than anybody else.
Let's go back to the 11th grade talent contest. What happened?
Well, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't popular in school. I wasn't dating anybody at that school. I failed music. I was taking music. I flunked music, just flat. Whew. F. Only thing I ever failed. And they entered me in this talent show. And I came out, I did my 2 songs. And when I came on stage, I heard people kind of rumbling and whispering and so forth. Because nobody knew I even sang, really. And it was amazing how popular I became in school after that.
What did you say?
Let me see. Till I Waltz Again With You by Teresa Brewer. That was a song I sang. So then I went on through high school and I graduated.
What happened? You never sung in public before. You get out there, you're scared, pissless and ugly, and you start to sing. What happens?
Well, about the same thing happened later on at the Shell. You know, the kids and everybody really went. You know, I got 10 or 11 encores, that type of thing. They just kind of halted the show at that period. And it scared me, but then it made me very happy too. But I was still shy about it. I wouldn't sing in public for a long time, and I went for maybe a year. I just kind of forgot about it. I got out of school and I was driving a truck. I was dating a girl and waiting for her to get out of school so we could get married. And I was training to be an electrician because they make $3 an hour. You know, and I was very serious about it. I made the first record really as a personal thing for my mother. And that same company called me a year later and said, "We got a song that you might be able to do." It was 12 o'clock. I said, "Can you be here about 3 o'clock?" I was there by the time they hung up the phone, you know. Whoop, I know it, man. So.
What did your dad say about it? Guy with the guitar?
Yeah.
And he still feels that way today.
No, it's funny. I say it to him every once in a while. He just laughs about it. He gets embarrassed if I say it in front of somebody. And here I was having an epileptic fit. You know, they just happened to film it.
How old were you then? When I think you had any idea?
I was about 19.
You look like you're trying to get your balance.
Oh.
What happened to all those movements that you used to do? I know you changed them around a lot.
I don't know. I learned better after a while.
What happened when you went on TV that time?
You mean when they filmed me from the waist up? I think it was a matter of, it was new at that time to see anybody's body vibrate or move at all. And that's what I was doing.
When you went on with Sullivan Show, did you know he was going to film you only from the waist up?
I wasn't conscious of those type things, you know, really.
But in that day, do you think people thought it was shocking, or?
I think so. I think they probably did.
How did you find out that he had cut it that way, that he had not shot your whole body?
When I saw it, I played back, and I was so busy at that time, man, so I didn't really have time to. You gotta remember, you know, I was just 19. Just show me out in the world.
Did things start happening fast?
Yes, very fast.
What happened next?
Well, I started working on those shows with those guys from the opera. Started traveling and doing more TV shows. And then I came to Hollywood. I did 4 movies. So everything was happening in a short period of time. And then right when I was going good, I got drafted. And overnight it was all gone. It was like a dream. Changed.
What happened in the Army? What did you expect? What did you find? How did people treat you?
They treated me very well. You know, I've had people ask me if I had a rough time or something. I just did the same thing everybody else did. I didn't ask for anything, and they didn't give me anything, you know. I just did the same thing everybody else did. I made it very well. I had no trouble at all.
I remember your dad was telling me that they expected you to sing, and you know, but that you didn't want to make it that kind of a.
Now, they asked me once or twice, like Bob Hope would come over and do his Christmas thing. Christmas thing, Christmas show. And they'd put a little pressure on me about doing his shows. And I said, gentlemen, I don't have any instruments. I've been in the service about a year. I was a corporal. I said, I've been in, you know, I don't have any instruments. It'd be difficult for me. I had to bring my musicians over here. I will do that. But I didn't want to do it. I just felt I couldn't really mix the two. I couldn't be in show business and be in the service too.
Well, up until that period of time, one of the things that I remember, maybe I've heard it, maybe I've read it before, and I remember from my own experience, I remember being really pissed off at you because the girls that I was going to high school with that I dug all were in love with you. That son of a bitch, you know, he's got that, you know.
Well, I had the attitude of screw you, you know.
That's what I wanted to do.
All is fair in love and war, Jack, you know.
Oh, when we were doing the girl from the red?
Yeah, I mean, no, the guy who was sitting there with his wife.
Oh, yeah, in Buffalo. In Buffalo.
Oh, it's in Buffalo.
Yeah, it was in Buffalo.
Was it?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I can do the accent, the Buffalo, New York accent, probably. But I had the videotape camera, and I was out in the audience, and we were going to tape that concert so that we could prepare for him. And the lady, there's two couples sitting there in their mid-30s or something like that. And the lady is saying, "Oh, I'd give anything if I could just get up and touch him, or maybe he'll kiss me." And he says, "You ain't going up on that stage. You get out of the seat. We screw." You know, and she says, "Oh, if you just, I mean, if I could run up there and just kiss him, it would be just..." And he said, "Myrtle," he said, "you get out of this seat and you'll find yourself another husband. You touch that son of a bitch and we're through." And I said, "Why am I not filming this?" It was beautiful, and they were sitting right behind me. And she got, like, the rest of the night, they didn't talk, and he sat there like this all night. He wasn't about to get into the concert at all.
Yeah, that's funny. No, I found, you know, through the years that most of the guys are pretty understandable about it, you know.
But you had gotten into some open hostility. Somebody had punched you or something.
Yeah, I had a few instances like that. Like, somebody woke up and asked me for an autograph, take a swing at me. But they realized that I fought back. And I didn't have any trouble like that from the time I got out of the service on. It was just for those first few years, I had to watch for it, you know.
Maybe one of the things the Army did is it made you aware of the fact that you could just be accepted as a human being, as just another guy.
Well, that's exactly what they did, you know. And we were under wartime conditions in Germany, and I was in a tank corps, so we were up in the Russian zone most of the time, just on patrol. And the weather was bad. It was 10 degrees below zero. And I tried to keep my morale up and keep going, keep busy.
Were you surprised the fact that suddenly you were just being accepted as another human being?
I was pleased with it. You know, the first few days, the guys just watched me, kind of watched me to see what I was doing, what I was going to do. When they saw I was doing the same thing that they were, just tried to come around and talk to me and ask me questions about what was it like to make a movie, stuff like that. I found myself in Germany, guys would get letters from home. The girl would go with the guy. They'd come wake me up in the middle of the night. Ask me about it. Ask me to read your letter. I found myself advising these guys on what to do. I had a girlfriend too that was ding-a-ling, man. She went off with somebody else. But I didn't say anything about my own situation. I just kept it quiet.
You had already made movies.
I had 4 movies. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Love Me Tender, Loving You, Jailhouse Rock, and King Creole.
Now you grow up looking looking at movies and, you know, wherever you happen to go to movies, you see these heroes up on screen. Suddenly you're going to Hollywood, you're going to get to be one of them. What happened when you came to Hollywood?
Well, by that time, I wasn't thinking along those lines. I didn't associate myself as being that. I was busy with a script. I had to memorize a script. It changed a lot of those things.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah, it was work. It was a job, you know. I had to be there at a certain time in the morning and work a certain amount of hours, and that's exactly how I treated it. So I was more concerned about if the picture's any good or if I was any good, and it, you know.
There were a lot of action movies. There were always, when you were driving a car or you
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, there's like 32 movies that have gone, you know, through it one time or another. A lot of people say, I've heard say, oh, he doesn't give a shit, you know, about his movies. He makes all those movies and they just kind of grind them out. I think I've heard the same criticism. You know, I remember we were talking about Robert Hilbert. Like he did, I don't know what he was looking at, but he says, Elvis, we know different. That's one of the things we want to accomplish in this film. He really cares about what he goes on stage. He really cared about the movies, good or bad. The point is that you care about those films. You care if they're not good.
Yeah, I cared so much until I became physically ill. I would become violently ill. I'd get a temperature or something would happen to me.
What would concern you at the time about the film? What would make you ill?
The fact that I didn't, at a certain stage, I had no say-so in it. I didn't have final approval of the script, which means that I couldn't say this is not good for me, or whatever.
In other words, they just used you. They did anything they wanted to do.
It was that type. It was more or less that type of thing. I don't think anybody was consciously trying to harm me. It was just Hollywood's image of me was wrong, and I knew it, and I couldn't say anything about it. I couldn't do anything about it. I'd be writing to production. I was doing a lot of pictures close together, and the pictures got very similar. A lot of them got very similar, and they, you know, if something was successful, I'd try to recreate it the next time around. So I'd read the first 4 or 5 pages, and I knew that it was just a different name with 12 new songs in it. The songs were mediocre in most cases. You can't get good songs. So that's what might have made it seem like the indifference, you know. But I was never indifferent. I was so concerned until that's all I talked about. It worried me sick, you know. So I had to change it, which I did. You know. I had to change it around.
Yeah, on the tour,
I was obligated in like 4 years in advance.
You're not going to remember things like the great dance sequence in Jailhouse Rock. When Jerry told me you choreographed it, you know, you're doing yourself. That's a beautiful sequence.
Yeah.
How did that come about? I mean, how did you get that kind of control?
I just did it, and we had a choreographer that just more or less geared the dances off what I did. But I don't know. It's nobody's fault, maybe except my own. I didn't know what to do. I just felt I was obligated very heavily to, a lot of times, to things that I didn't fully believe in. And that was very difficult, you know.
That's the feeling I got.
Well, the difference was this, I think. Turn it properly. No.
No, you agree, Terry.
Was Elvis's contracts were made up before the scripts. In other words, when people do pictures, they do it by a script. They say, yeah, I can do this script. Then they do the picture. But Elvis was contracted to do pictures, so he had to do a picture no matter what they told him to do.
Yeah, you got 5 pictures to do. Or
You
whatever.
say you got you do this script.
That's what I'm saying. The movies were made, the contracts were signed like 4 years in
For 11
advance.
pictures, 7 pictures, no matter what picture.
So I had thought
That's the difference.
that they would try to get a new property for me or give me a chance to show some kind of acting ability or do a very interesting story. But it did not change. It did not change. And so I became very discouraged. They couldn't have paid me no amount of money in the world to make me feel any self-satisfaction inside.
But yet you still did them. You must have forced yourself.
I had to.
What kind of film would you have liked to have made if you would have had your choice?
That's hard to say. I would like to have had something that was more challenging instead of Hollywood's image of what they thought I was.
It was a whole big image problem as long as I can remember. I remember two extremes of you. I remember in high school, the image was that you were a big, bad, evil kind of guy with sideburns. And yet in the movies, I saw a completely different kind of person. A guy who would rather sing than fight, as one person described it. Yeah. And it's just like, and yet there was no reality. Between those two extremes, I knew that there was another person. I think one of the first things I remembered about you is there's some strange distorted image here, which I can't figure out. I was always used to dealing with people in a one-to-one relationship. And I see that image of you, and I wonder what he really thinks.
I literally took it as long as I could. Physically, emotionally, just
That's why when you get on stage, I think
it comes out.
it's honest, it's real, it's you.
Well, it's like you said.
I tell you, like I told you before, I had a completely different image of you until I met you, until I saw you in a live performance. And I think a lot of people do. It's too bad the medium is like that.
Well, not all the movies were that bad. In between, I would do something that was entertaining to people, just of a pure entertainment nature. So, like Tickle Me or something like that, I would do. And, they work well on television.
A lot of people still watching.
Sure.
My sister.
But it got to be a thing also of 10 to 12 songs in a movie. It was very difficult to get good material, and I know good material when I hear it. See. Songs had to fit situations, and I had to gear down to that particular thing. Like sing to a dog,
It's hard to see a situation on a record.
Remember this on the Steve Allen show, they had you singing to a hound dog.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'm doing.
Yeah, that was Steve Allen's humor. And,
Actually, Steve.
To me, it was about as funny as a crutch. Again, I had to do that.
Actually, sure.
There you go.
He's been one of the few people who've been really very helpful to us. We sent him a letter and said we'd like to get a tape of an early Elvis TV show. And we've been jerked around by it, Sullivan. And Alan wrote a letter right away, said, yes, I'd be happy to help, or whatever. And he sent one over this afternoon. We haven't looked at it yet.
Well, he was all right.
But he's a kind of a strange cornball. Now my voice is on that tape too.
Right. What about some of the people that travel around with you, your friends? Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Well, I can tell you a lot about them, but he was ruining them all.
Oh, sure.
No, all right. I have to have people to work for me that handle the things of a personal nature. Personal travel, wardrobe, details, personal relations or public relations. I have to have people like that. And it's mostly people that I've known for years. And they know that they are representing me. So.
People that you trust then?
Yeah. And.
So when you go on a tour, what do they do?
Well, they're all pretty well skilled in what they're doing. It's very important. The costume, the wardrobe has to be there, has to be in good shape. So there are people assigned to that. The security is all very well planned out in advance. And I have to have people with me for security. And, to make sure that I get to the building on time and get inside. And a couple of guys that I met in the Army. I met Joe in the Army. I met Charlie in the Army. And they just stayed with me ever since 1960.
What's Sonny and Red and Jerry?
Well, Sonny went to work for me probably 1961.
Red, you went to school with?
Yeah, went to school with Red. So Red was with me in those early days when I was first traveling around. A lot of times just the two of us, you know.
We need a little line, Elvis, like before you go on the tour, we're going to show a rehearsal. Before, maybe you could just say something about preparations before the tour. You get everybody together and you go over songs.
Most people just think you just walk out on that stage and that's it.
No,
Band strikes up and you...
What happens?
We start discussing the songs first. I have new wardrobe made for every appearance. I don't use the same ones. So there's sketches that have to be drawn up and have to be fitted, you know, for wardrobe. And then we start talking about songs. I start going through the list of songs, and there must be 400 or 500 songs. Out of that 400 or 500, I have to pick 20 at the most. Then we start rehearsing in a little studio at RCA Victor with a small band, with a rhythm section. And we go through several songs, maybe 50 songs. We do that for several days, and we try to add to it. And then we go to Vegas and we pick up the voices. We start rehearsing with the voices. Then graduate to the big band. But all this starts to take place 2 or 3 months before I ever make a public appearance. It's all planned out.
Are you thinking about things beforehand? I mean, you're...
Oh yeah, sure. Well, like right now, I'm going into Vegas, and that's just on my mind all the time. Songs, wardrobe, lighting, sound, everything's on my mind, you know.
A lot of times you listen to the radio, hear a song. It's a good song for the show.
It'd be a good stage song. I hear somebody else. I'll do it.
I noticed though that every time you do a song, you do it a certain way. I mean, you do it, you put your own stamp on it. Somehow it takes on a whole different feeling.
Well, that's just me, I guess. I just do the song the way that I feel it, you know.
I asked Jerry about how you had having the American Trilogy. He told me that you had heard Mickey Newbury do it. Mickey had worked with him a few years ago. And Chris Christopherson.
I just thought it was a very good idea, you know. All I do is just take it and make the sound and expound on it, you know.
What was incredible to me is, until it dawned on me, because we're on the stage and we have a headset on, and things are just happening, you don't really listen to the music, you're too concerned about camera angles and stuff. That here in American Trilogy, in the South, and I first dawned on me in Richmond, you've got a Union song, you've got basically a black spiritual, and of course you've got a rebel song. And yet that audience is responding from the very first note, and they're taking it all in as their music. And yet, in reality, only one of the songs is really, really theirs.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about how they might or might not react to that?
I didn't think about it until I did it on stage. There's one guy one night that had sat through my entire performance in the front stage, the front table, and he had on a cowboy hat. He sat through the entire show, man. There was no reaction much at all. So I started in a Dixie. He stood up and put his hat over his heart. That was it. He sat back down. So just a few funny things would happen. I'd do the song in certain areas, and he'd stand up. I'd start doing the other song, he'd sit back down. But I've had a lot of good reaction with it.
When's the first time you ever did it? Did you do it in the South? Do you remember what you did?
No, I did it in Vegas.
Vegas, yeah. Last night. We broke it out.
Then we go to break.
Yeah, I think so. It's,
Okay.
it's a little warm in here.
One thing we'd like you to do, really